my uniform is dirty.
Just wait 1 minute.
I'm hungry.
Stop it! All of you stop! Why won't you just keep quiet? I can't do this anymore.
This was not how their story began. It did not begin with a man crying on the floor or with children screaming in a dirty house. It began quietly. Kunlay and Cynthia lived in a busy Nigerian city where mornings rushed forward and nights arrived too quickly. When they first married, life felt balanced. Both of them worked, they planned together, laughed together, and shared dreams about the future. Then children came, one after another. The youngest was only 6 months old. The second child was 2 years old and already attending school, learning songs and simple words. The first child, 4 years old, also went to school and came home every afternoon with stories, questions, and homework. After the third child was born, Cynthia made a hard decision. She stepped away from her job to stay home. The children were too young, the house needed constant attention. She believed it was the right thing to do, even though it meant letting go of her own comfort and independence. Her days became full very quickly. She woke before dawn to prepare food, dress the children for school, pack their bags, and calm the baby crying on her back. She cooked, cleaned, washed clothes, and moved from one task to another without rest. Some evenings, her legs ached so badly she could barely stand. Cynthia tried to ask for help. Not big things, just small things. Sometimes she asked her husband to help with the laundry on weekends. Sometimes she asked him to sit with the children and help them with their schoolwork while she rested for a few minutes. Sometimes she only wanted him to hold the baby so she could breathe. Kunlay always said he was tired. He worked long hours. He needed to rest. He would help later. Later never came. Slowly, Cynthia learned to do everything alone, and without realizing it, Kunlay was getting used to a home that ran quietly on a woman who was growing more tired every day. This was how it started. Cynthia's body was tired long before she allowed herself to admit it. Every morning followed the same pattern. She woke up before the first call to prayer drifted through the streets. The baby needed to be fed and changed. The 2 older children needed to be dressed for school, their uniforms ironed, their shoes found, their small voices calmed when they moved too slowly. By the time the school bus honked outside, Cynthia was already tired. When the door closed behind the children, there was no rest waiting for her. The house needed attention. Dishes from the night before sat in the sink. Clothes waited to be washed. The floor needed sweeping again, even though she had cleaned it only hours earlier. The baby cried often, sometimes from hunger, sometimes for no clear reason. Cynthia carried the baby on her back while she cooked and cleaned, sweat soaking through her clothes in the kitchen heat. She had no time for herself. Even bathing became something she rushed through, listening carefully in case the baby awoke. Some days, she forgot to look at her own face in the mirror. She forgot the woman she used to be. In the evenings, Kunlay returned from work and rested. Cynthia continued working. She served dinner, cleaned the plates, helped the children with their homework, and prepared their clothes for the next day. When night came, she collapsed into bed, already thinking about the morning that would come too quickly. She tried to talk to Kunlay. She told him she was tired. She told him she felt alone. She asked for understanding, not praise. Kunlay listened with half his attention. He nodded sometimes. He promised things would get better. They did not. Days turned into weeks. Weeks turned into months. Cynthia stopped counting. The weight she carried was not only physical. It was the weight of being unseen, the weight of loving her family while slowly disappearing inside it. And every day, she carried that weight alone. One evening after dinner, the children were noisy and the house looked scattered. Kunlay sighed. "In our time, things were not like this," he said. Cynthia kept quiet and continued folding clothes. Kunlay leaned back on the chair. "My mother raised 6 children. She carried babies on her back and still worked on the farm," he added. Cynthia nodded slowly. I know, she said. She cooked, cleaned, and never complained. Everything was always in order, Kunlay said. The words stayed in the room. Finally, Cynthia spoke. Life is different now. We live in the city. The children are small. I'm tired. Kunlay shook his head. You people of today have it easy. There's gas cooker, there's running water, there's school bus. What is the big stress? Cynthia looked at him. Machines don't do the work alone, she said quietly. Kunlay stood up. My mother didn't ask for help, he replied. She just did what she had to do. After that night, the stories about his mother came more often, and each time he compared them, Cynthia felt smaller in her own home. The house was always noisy. In the morning, the children cried. In the afternoon, they argued over toys. At night, the baby refused to sleep. Cynthia moved around the house all day, answering one call after another. Mommy, mommy, mommy. Sometimes she felt like the word was the only name she had left. One evening, as she washed plates in the kitchen, Kunlay sat in the living room watching television. The baby was on her back, already restless. Kunlay, she called gently, please, can you help me with the children's homework today? My head is not strong. Kunlay did not look away from the screen. I just came back from work. Let me rest small. Cynthia nodded quietly and continued washing. A few minutes later, the baby started crying again. She adjusted the cloth on her back and sighed. Can you help me hold the baby for 5 minutes? Let me finish this. Kunlay stood up, looked at the baby, then sat back down. Later, I'm tired. Later never came. That night, when the children were finally asleep, Cynthia sat on the bed rubbing her feet. Kunlay lay beside her, scrolling on his phone. I'm really tired these days, she said quietly. I don't even rest. Kunlay replied, You are at home. Rest is there. Cynthia turned her face away. She wanted to talk. She wanted him to understand, but she was too tired to argue. The next morning, everything continued as usual. Cooking, cleaning, crying, school runs. The house was full of noise, but between Cynthia and her husband, something important was no longer being said, and that silence was growing louder. It was a normal morning. The baby cried on Cynthia's back while she packed the children's school bags. The 2-year-old refused to wear his shoes. The 4-year-old complained that his food was too hot. Kunlay stood by the door, already dressed for work. Why is everywhere always scattered? He asked, looking around the room. Cynthia bent down to pick up a fallen book. You should arrange things better, Kunlay added. This house is not neat. She paused and looked at him. Kunlay, I'm really tired. Can we get a housemaid, even if it's small, just someone to help with cleaning and laundry? Kunlay turned fully toward her. A housemaid? He asked. Cynthia, I pay the rent, I buy the food, I pay school fees, I provide everything in this house. He stepped closer. What do you even bring to the table? The words landed heavily. Cynthia felt her fingers grow cold. I take care of the children, she said softly. I take care of the house. Kunlay shook his head. My mother gave birth to 6 children. She cooked, cleaned, worked on the farm, and still respected her husband. She never complained. He looked at her carefully. You are just lazy. The room felt quiet, even though the children were still talking. Cynthia opened her mouth to speak. Nothing came out. She bent down and helped the 2-year-old with his shoe. Kunlay picked up his bag. I'm late, he said. Think about what you are saying. He walked out. That day, Cynthia did not talk much. She cooked, she washed, she cleaned, she carried the baby. But something inside her had gone silent. That night, after the children slept, she lay on the bed staring at the ceiling. Kunlay slept peacefully beside her. The words repeated in her mind. What do you bring to the table? Lazy. For the first time, Cynthia stopped thinking about how to explain herself. She started thinking about what would happen if she stopped trying. The next day felt normal. Too normal. Cynthia woke up early as usual. She cooked, cleaned, bathed the baby, and prepared the children for school. Kunlay spoke very little that morning. He acted as if nothing had happened the day before. When he was about to leave, he picked up his car keys and said, "Make sure the house is neat today." Cynthia nodded. She did not reply. Kunlay liked the silence. To him, it meant peace had returned. It meant the matter was settled. He believed Cynthia had understood him. At work, he told a colleague, laughing, "Women complain too much these days. Small work, plenty talk." He did not worry about home. That evening, when he returned, the house looked fine. Food was ready, the children were fed, the baby was asleep. Kunlay felt satisfied. "See," he said to himself, "nothing is wrong." Cynthia served dinner quietly. She cleaned up after. She put the children to bed. Kunlay lay on the couch watching television. That night, Cynthia did not ask for anything. She did not complain. She did not sigh. Kunlay slept well. He did not know that the silence he enjoyed was not acceptance. It was preparation. And when the storm finally came, he would not see it coming. The change did not look dramatic. That morning, Cynthia woke up early as usual. She swept the house, cooked food, washed clothes, and packed the children's school bags. Everything looked normal. Too normal. In the evening, Kunlay returned from work. "What is for dinner?" he asked. "There's food in the kitchen," Cynthia replied quietly. After he finished eating, Cynthia untied the baby from her back and placed him in Kunlay's arms. "Hold him," she said. Kunlay frowned. "What are you doing?" Cynthia walked into the bedroom and came out with a small bag. "I need to rest for some days," she said calmly. Kunlay laughed. "Rest? From what?" The baby started crying loudly. "Take him," Kunlay said. "He wants you." "You'll manage," Cynthia replied. She walked to the door. "Cynthia, where are you going?" Kunlay asked, now serious. "I'll be back," she said, and she left. That night, the house felt different. The baby refused to sleep. The children kept asking for their mother. Food spilled. Plates remained unwashed. The crying did not stop. Kunlay called her. No answer. He called again. Nothing. By midnight, Kunlay was sitting on the floor with the baby in his arms, sweat on his face, eyes red. "Please," he whispered. "Please stop crying." The baby cried louder. And for the first time, Kunlay felt afraid. Not of the noise, but of what he had never understood. Morning came too quickly for Kunlay. He had barely slept. The baby finally slept close to dawn, only after crying for hours. Kunlay's eyes were red. His head was heavy. His body felt weak. The two older children woke up early. "Daddy, I'm hungry." "Daddy, where is Mommy?" Kunlay stood up slowly. His back hurt. His shirt was stained. He walked into the kitchen and stared at the fridge like it would explain what to do. He warmed the food Cynthia had cooked, but it burnt because he forgot to turn it off. The baby cried again. The 2-year-old spilled water on the floor. The 4-year-old complained his uniform was dirty. Kunlay shouted without meaning to. "Stop it! All of you stop!" They cried harder. At that same time, in another part of the city, Cynthia slept. She was in her friend Sade's house, a small, quiet apartment. No crying, no shouting, no rushing. For the first time in 4 years, Cynthia slept through the night. No baby waking her, no alarm, no fear of morning. When she opened her eyes, the room was bright. The clock said 8. 8. Cynthia sat up slowly, confused. Then she smiled. She had not slept till 8 since her first child was born. She went to the bathroom alone. She bathed without rushing. She wore clean clothes and sat on the bed, doing nothing. Nothing at all. Sade knocked and entered the room. "You are awake?" she asked. "Yes," Cynthia replied. "I slept well." Sade looked at her closely. "You look lighter," she said. Cynthia nodded. Back at home, Kunlay was already exhausted. He had missed work. The house was a mess. The baby refused to eat. The two older children asked questions he could not answer. He picked up his phone and called Cynthia again. No answer. He sat on the floor and held his head. For years, Cynthia had lived like this every day. And now, in just one morning, Kunlay was already breaking. By the third day, Kunlay was already exhausted. Morning and night felt the same. The baby cried often. The older children woke him up for food, for help, for comfort. He slept in short pieces, never fully resting. The house refused to stay clean. Plates piled up, clothes gathered in corners. He washed once and his back hurt for hours. On the fourth day, he forgot to cook early. The children cried from hunger. The baby refused the bottle. Panic filled his chest. He called his mother. "This thing is not easy," he said quietly. There was silence on the line. "Did you think it was easy for your wife?" he asked. Kunlay had no answer. By the fifth day, he stopped shouting. He carried the baby slowly, rocking him the way Cynthia used to. He remembered her patience, her quiet strength. On the sixth day, Kunlay sat on the floor and cried. He remembered the word he used, lazy. Meanwhile, Cynthia rested at Sade's house. She slept peacefully. She ate without rushing. She sat quietly without guilt. For the first time in years, her mind was calm. And far away, Kunlay was finally feeling the weight he once refused to see. By the seventh day, Kunlay was no longer pretending. The house smelt of spilled food and unwashed clothes. Toys covered the floor. Plates sat where they were last dropped. Kunlay moved slowly now, like a man twice his age. The baby cried less, not because things were better, but because Kunlay had learned the rhythm of the cries. Hunger, sleep, discomfort. He finally understood how much attention a small child needed. The two older children stayed close to him. "Daddy, when is Mommy coming back?" the 4-year-old asked quietly. Kunlay swallowed hard. "Soon," he said, though he was no longer sure. That afternoon, Kunlay sat on the floor holding the baby, staring at nothing. His phone lay beside him. He picked it up again and dialed Cynthia's number. This time, it rang once. Then she answered. "Hello?" Cynthia said calmly. Kunlay's voice broke. "Please," he said. "I'm sorry. I don't know how you did all this. I was wrong." There was silence on the line. "I should not have spoken to you that way," he continued. "You are not lazy. I was blind." Cynthia listened. For the first time, Kunlay was not defending himself. He was not explaining. He was only admitting. "I need you," he said. "The children need you. Please come home." That evening, Cynthia returned. She walked into the house quietly. She saw everything. The mess, the tired faces, Kunlay standing in the middle of the room, looking small. "I'm sorry," he said again. "I didn't understand." Cynthia nodded. "I know," she replied. That night, they talked, slowly, honestly, without shouting. And for the first time in a long while, Kunlay listened. Change did not happen in one day. The house was still noisy. The baby still cried. The children still argued. But something had changed. Kunlay woke up early. Cynthia heard him in the kitchen trying to boil water. "Let me do it," she said. "No, let me learn." The water spilled. He laughed at himself. "This is not easy," he admitted. Later that week, he brought a woman from the neighborhood. "She'll help with cleaning and laundry, part-time." Cynthia nodded. She waited to see if it would last. Days passed. Kunlay started asking questions instead of giving orders. How do you calm him? What time do they sleep? Sometimes he complained, but he corrected himself. He stopped comparing him to his mother. One evening he said quietly, "I didn't understand before." Weeks turned into months. The house was not perfect, but it felt lighter. One day, Cynthia brought out her old work papers. "I want to work again," she said. Kunlay nodded. "We'll plan it together." And this time, she believed him. Time changed their home. Not because life became easier, but because both of them changed. The children grew, the baby learned to walk and talk. The older ones became more independent. The house was still noisy, but it was no longer heavy. Cynthia returned to work slowly. At first, part-time. She left home nervous, but she came back smiling. She felt like herself again. She dressed well, she laughed more, she slept better. Kunlay adjusted too. Some mornings he prepared breakfast, some evenings he helped with homework. If he was tired, he said it calmly. When Cynthia looked tired, he noticed. They kept the housemaid. The house stayed cleaner, the tension reduced. One evening, Kunlay watched Cynthia playing with the children. He said quietly, "I almost lost this family." Cynthia looked at him. "Yes," she replied. There was no anger in her voice, only truth. Kunlay never compared him to his mother again. When his friends complained about their wives, he said, "You don't know what she carries every day." He had learned. An African proverb says, "The one who carries the load knows its weight." Kunlay carried the load once, and that experience taught him what pride never could. Marriage is not about who provides more. It is not about who suffers quietly. It is about standing together. Because love can survive many things, but it cannot survive without respect. And a home stands strong only when both hands build it. Thanks for watching. Kindly subscribe, like, and share for more stories.